Hey everyone, I went and watched Better Man, and like most people, I'm going to tell you, most Americans, I don't know anything about Robbie Williams. I feel like any review you've been watching, they're just like, I didn't know anything about Robbie Williams going in, and then I saw the movie and I loved it. And I get to join the chorus of a ton of people saying the same exact thing. I didn't know anything about Robbie Williams. I saw a lot of people talking about this movie. I went in and watched it, and I loved it. Like, it was simple as that. You can see the ratings on Letterboxd is a 3.7, which is pretty strong overall. Like 4 is really good, like a really good threshold for films. So a 3.7 is very high. And this movie just kind of rocks. I think the thing that you're going to hear over and over again is that it's not very dynamic in terms of the story. The story is like beat by beat, almost what you'd expect from a biopic. Like, I'm sure if somebody handed you a pen and a piece of paper, which I don't know why anybody would do that. They'd tell you to bring up the notes app on your phone or something, or to hand you a laptop and tell you to type out the story of a pop star and how it would go. You'd be like, oh, they start off as a young kid dreaming of fame, and then they become famous, and it's not great, and they suffer, and there's drugs and alcohol, and they have a setback, but then they figure it out, or it's a tragic ending. But for the most part, you're just like, they figure it out. And we saw it with what's the guy with the glasses, Elton John. The Elton John biopic went that direction. It's essentially like the same. There's even a scene that's almost identical to the Elton John biopic. I kept thinking of Rocket Man. I kept thinking of the Elton John. No, Rocket Man was the Elton John biopic. What was the Queen biopic called? Oh man, they all just kind of mesh together in my head. I'm not usually a fan of biopics, and not usually a fan of musical biopics because they're so predictable. The thing I look for in a movie over and over again, the thing that I want the most, is just to be surprised. And that can either be story wise or it can be stylistically. And while Better Man doesn't surprise me story wise all that much, there was one moment though in the last 15 minutes, there's this moment that happens that I just did not see coming. And I actually kicked my feet like a little kid who was told that you're getting ice cream when you didn't think you were getting ice cream. That's how excited I was about this scene. Just out of nowhere, didn't see it coming, and it's awesome. It's epic. It's one of the coolest, like, I don't even want to give like a noun to describe it because I don't want to spoil what happens out of nowhere. But it's not out of nowhere. That's the thing. It's set up so well over the course of the movie in these very subtle ways. I'm going to be writing about it in an explanation, but if you really want that detail, you can find the article on Film Colossus or just go see the movie yourself, and you'll know the scene when you get there because you'll be like, oh yeah, biopic, biopic, biopic. What? And it's awesome. I just thought that was excellent. So that surprised me. But stylistically, I think that's the thing. So it's either story has to surprise me or the style has to surprise me. And that's what makes like Kubrick movies so great to me, is that the story and the style often surprise me, which is why I love him so much. Same with Paul Thomas Anderson. All these great filmmakers that I adore. A Peach Upon Where It's Ethical is another one where you're just like, they surprise you. You don't know what to expect, and then the style is just so good along the way. And this movie has all the style in the world. So I want to give a shout out to Michael Gracie, because as I was watching, I was just like, who directed this? Like, who directed this? And it turns out The Greatest Showman, which I never saw. What is that? Come and Say Good Day. That's a movie. It's a kangaroo movie. Wait, hold on. I'm just discovering this for the first time, and you're watching me discover this in real time. When they meet in a gift shop on the Great Barrier Reef, souvenir kangaroo Ruby and toy unicorn Louie form an unlikely friendship. Watch as Ruby takes Louie on an amazing adventure around Australia, visiting iconic sites including Melbourne's laneways and stunning natural landscapes such as the Nitmiluk Gorge. They'll discover new experiences, connect with indigenous cultures, and along the way learn the true meaning of an Aussie welcome. I I kind of have to watch that, right? Like, we all have to watch that and really be in that space in that moment together, because that just sounds like a good time. I never saw Greatest Showman, I guess, and Tangled. He's doing I'm assuming that's a live action Tangled. Yeah. All right. Well, Michael just like upped his value a lot, but maybe, I mean, that's the thing. This movie hasn't performed well at the box office. I think they said the opening weekend predictions, or no, the actual, not predictions, the actual opening weekend box office for this movie was $1 million in 1,300 theaters. That's not a lot. To put that into perspective, Interstellar when it came back to IMAX in December or November, December, was in 128 theaters, I think, and was making $1 million a day. And we're talking 1,300 theaters, and it made $1 million in a weekend. So it's a bit of a flop, which is a shame. There's a story going around. You may have heard it, you may not. In which case, let me enlighten you. There's a story going around that Paramount actually bought this movie. They saw it. They bought it for $25 million. And we're like, we're going to put it in theaters, not because we think it's going to do well. In fact, we already know, we're not fools. We already know this is not going to do well, that as big as Robbie Williams has been in the UK, he doesn't have that same cachet in America. But we're going to do it because we think this is a great movie that's going to be a cult classic. And they're really like just putting movies out there for the sake of putting good movies out there. And that, I think that deserves a round of applause. That is something that I can get behind and support. And I'm happy I saw it, not just because I enjoyed it, but because that's an awesome thing for Paramount to do. I'm really like dying for studios to take more risks like that, and not everything has to be Avengers that's making $600 million. It's one of the things that has me really excited about Wolfman, which comes out in a few days by, I've never actually heard anybody say his name. Is it Lee Whannell? Whannell, we'll go with that, who did Invisible Man and wrote Saw 1, 2, and 3 and the Insidious movies. He's made a bunch of movies that are all $10 million budgets, $5 million budgets that all went on to gross $100 million, $140 million, $160 million. Invisible Man was a $7 million budget and then grossed over $100 million. We need studios to be investing in these small mid-budget movies. Like, give people $10 million, give people $20 million, give them an opportunity to make a cool movie. Robert Eggers, he just got $35 million to do Nosferatu, and it's a banger, right? Like, it's doing great at the box office, and that's because somebody took a risk on Robert Eggers, whose movies hadn't done well at the box office leading up to that, right? The Witch, as much as that's a cult hit, mostly because of its association with A24, didn't do great at the box office. And The Lighthouse, again, a cult hit because of the actors involved and its association with A24, didn't do well at the box office. And then The Northman, which was actually Universal Pictures, I think that's who it was, or Focus Features, was like a $60 million budget and did not do well at the box office. So there was a opportunity for studios just to be like, no, we're going to go back and give the Russo brothers another $200 million, or who directed Red One. We're going to give them all the money in the world to make, slop. And instead, they gave Eggers $35 million and he made what he made. And then I don't know what the budget for Better Man was, but I imagine with all that CGI, it can't be cheap. And it's not going to do well at the box office, but you know what? It's going to be something that people come back to for years and years and years. And there's a strategy there. There's value there for the public as well as for the company. And I think that is terrific. So if you want to just see a good movie in theaters, it's January. I don't know what else you're doing. Go see Better Man because it's entertaining. And when I ranked it, if the ranking page loads, you can see here, these are my favorites of 2024 because, I mean, technically this is a 2025 wide release, but it's a 2024 movie. I ended up putting it in the wow category. And just a reminder, these are all alphabetical. Like, each tier is in alphabetical order, right? So A Complete Unknown isn't my number one movie of the year. My number one movie of the year is The Substance. But it's just easier to put them in alphabetical order than to nitpick within a level what each one is. But Better Man, goes in the wow category. I was impressed. I was moved. Like, you can't see how red my eyes are, but I was crying a lot in the theater. There was a couple down the row from me, and the dude was sobbing at the end of the movie to the point where I wanted to just kind of I was thinking is it weird if I go up and just be like, bring it in? Because we're both crying. I'm sniffling. They can hear me sniffling. There weren't many people in the theater. I don't know if that point was made, but it's not a popular movie. So there were only 5 people in the theater. And like this other dude was sobbing. I cried so much. I made a joke that I hadn't cried this much over a CGI primate since King Kong, which if you haven't watched 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong, you should get on that because that is an excellent movie. But Better Man, it's a top 10 in the year for me, which I did not expect. This year was pretty weak for me for a long time. And then right at the end of the year, A Complete Unknown rose up, Nickel Boys rose up. Anora, I really enjoyed. Queer was great. The Brutalist got in there. So there were a number of good films that have really hit at the end. But overall, I don't think I was as big on 2024 as I was on 2023. You can see that there's a lot of like neutral, a lot of almost, a lot of not quite, and not for me, and really not for me. So it just didn't land quite as strongly. But I think 2025 already shaping up pretty well, even though I'm counting this as a 2024 movie. But go see Better Man. I think you'll enjoy it. And then we're next video will be Harikiri coming in with the Letterboxd Top 250 watching, starting with the #1 highest rated movie on Letterboxd. So if you want to watch Harikiri before the next video, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, see ya.